In the first lesson of our module, we talked about leadership and different types of leadership. And we also mentioned that one of the characteristics that, under some perspectives, are attributed to leaders is their accountability in pursuing goals. The word goal also made an appearance while talking about possible indicators that could help us determine the effectiveness of a certain leadership style. But what is a goal? How can we set relevant goals? As leaders, is there a way to promote goal achievement within the dynamic of a team? Are goals a reflection of the leadership style applied? We will see that not the kind of goals, but you can be sure that the way an organization set its goals is completely related to the leadership style applied. You just have to think on the way some banks set their objectives to their team. I don't believe that they open a public tool to know how many mortgages has to sink each worker. Don't answer now. We will try to help you to do it during the second lesson of our module. The second lesson contains two different but related topics: goals and team building. After going through the pertinent definitions, we will focus on the most common strategies for both goal pursuit and team building, in the hope that you can incorporate this knowledge into your repertoire of strategies as a leader. In the fourth chapter of their book, Beyond Goals, Effective Strategies for Coaching and Mentoring, David and David offer the following definition. The term goal is generally understood as being the purpose toward which an endeavor is directed, an objective or outcome. They also relate this definition to the idea of change, because goals are set in the purpose of getting from an initial state of being to a desired different state. Among the more than 20 types of goals that exist, the writers focus on 6 types, often described through a position. They are distal and proximal goals, outcome goals, avoidance and approach goals, performance and learning goals, complementary and competing goals, and finally, unconscious goals. Let's take a closer look to them. We should begin pointing out that distal and proximal aren't so many types of goals as they are a trait of them. Let me explain it. Every kind of goal can be either distal or proximal, depending on the time frame they cover. Distal goals are long-term goals, while proximal goals are short-term goals. For example, if we talk about retirement, it may be a distant goal for you and proximal for me. Well, not that proximal. Now, to really start our explanation of goal types, let's take the outcome goals. Outcome goals are those focused on results. They tend to be very specific, and their main characteristic is that they are highly measurable, and their specificity makes them easier to understand. Here we have an example. When a company set to a team a specific number of sales, whatever they sell, to do in a certain period, it's clearly an outcome goal. By the way, the achievement of an outcome goal does not accept opinions about you reached it or you did not. There's a number that tells that. Let's continue with avoidance and approach goals. When we use the expression avoidance goal, we're talking about moving away from an undesired state to help to reach a desired one. For example, when you quit smoking to improve your lungs capacity, you are avoiding a state to foster the other. In opposition, approach goal refers to moving towards a desired state, to start doing sport to be healthier. The next type of goals is performance versus learning goals. This category brings us to a distinction between task completion and the learning process associated to the achievement of the task. When we focus on the execution of the task, we're talking about performance goals, which tend to be competitive as the better the task is performed, the better the evaluation received for its completion. An example is to improve some industrial process to achieve better results. In other words, working on the efficiency of the process will be a performance goal. On the other hand, when we're talking about learning goals, the focus is on the process of learning and mastery of a task instead of the performance of the task itself. Here we are talking about improving the way we prepare any process to make sure that it will be better implemented. For example, when an athlete visualizes the jump which he's going to do before its execution. Moving on to complementary and competing goals. A goal becomes a competing one when it's in direct conflict with another, when the achievement of two goals is mutually exclusive. Taking again a sports example, scoring and defending. You do one or do the other, unless you play with two balls at a time. On the contrary, complementary goals are those that not only are not in conflict with each other, but that sometimes even the achievement of one depends on the other. For example, when a country makes efforts to expand the economy, it also will create more employment. So, if you work on expanding the economy, you will be also working on the creation of employment. On the other hand, the employment will hardly increase if the economy doesn't expand. And finally, we've got unconscious goals. It's common for people to exhibit a behavior focused on the outcome, even when no goals have been consciously or explicitly set. We have considered it important for this type of goal to make it into the list because, as leaders, you should be aware that this behavior exists within the members of a team. After all, as David and David say, human beings are goal-oriented organisms, and leaders should be attuned to such dynamics. The unconscious goals may be a source of trouble when they do not match with the goals set by the organization. Being unconscious, they are very hard to control, and they keep influencing the mood of the one who has them. One of the most important and often overlooked aspects of goal achievement is the process of setting them. Setting unrealistic and overly general goals can lead to frustration, a decrease in motivation, and the consequent failure of achievement process. It's true that the responsibility of this process may be very different depending on the structure of each organization. Normally, you will find that the directive board is responsible of setting the long and mid-term goals, and the leaders of the teams are requested to set the short-term goals. These, of course, are completely conditioned by the long and mid-term ones. In this part of our lesson, we will offer you a chart detailing the most important aspects of goal setting through the SMART framework. In this chart, you will see the questions that we need to answer by setting the goals. If these questions are not perfectly answered, probably we will have to do a lot of corrections to our team. All of them because we were not efficient enough explaining their tasks. SMART goals are defined as specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. The following chart was created based on the information provided by the Corporate Finance Institute, and it aims to present the description of SMART goals in a visual way. S. Specific, well-defined, clear, unambiguous. Who is involved in this goal? What do I want to accomplish? Where is this goal to be achieved? When do I want to achieve this goal? Why do I want to achieve this goal? M. Measurable, with specific criteria that measure the progress toward the accomplishment of the goal. How many, how much? How do I know if I have reached my goal? What is my indicator of progress? A. Attainable, not impossible to achieve. Do I have the resources and capabilities to achieve the goal? If not, what am I missing? Have others done it successfully before? R. Realistic, within reach. Is the goal realistic and within reach? Is the goal reachable given the time and resources? Are you able to commit to achieving the goal? And T. Time-bound, with a clearly defined timeline, a static date, and a target date. Does my goal have enough time to be achieved? By when you want to achieve your goal? More than anything, SMART goals give you a sense of direction. Even when not all goals can meet each and every one of the SMART criteria, the framework can help guide you into the right direction, which is the achievement of your goals. Often, goals like our organization will be the best are too general and vague to help us members commit to its achievement. Let's review an example. A general and vague goal can be, I want to be healthier. If we apply the study framework to it, we could transform this goal into a SMART way. Let's start with the S. Specific. Instead of being healthy, let's specify it. I want to work out 4 days a week. The M. Measurable. What is my indicator of progress? I will measure it through the pounds lost each week. If I win some, I have to review the S again. Now the A. Attainable. Do I have the resources and capabilities? Probably I don't, so I can enroll to a gym. Let's continue with the R. Realistic. Am I able to commit to achieving this goal? This amount of days and the measurable objective is something I can handle during a certain period of time. I have to make sure that it's possible. If it's not, I will be disappointed and I may lead me to abandon the goal. Finally, the T. Time-bound. Does my goal have a deadline? I want to achieve my goal by the end of the month. If I don't have a deadline, I may be not intense enough to do my best. Also, when someone has unlimited time to do a task, it makes it very difficult to have a schedule of each step that it needs to be taken, so I may be lost without a clear path to take. In the end, our goal looks like this. I want to get a gym membership on August 1st to start working out 4 days a week and lose 4 pounds by the end of the month in order to be healthier. It seems different to I want to be healthier. Which one is going to be easier to achieve? It may seem that the first one, because as being longer, is going to be more difficult. But actually, when a goal is well defined, no matter how long it is, it's going to be simpler the task of accomplish it. You just will have to follow the instruction. Despite everything we've already studied about goals, it is important to notice that there is a dark side to it all. A few risks that is important to be aware. First, we got the risk of specificity. The more specific a goal is, the more focused the person becomes, and that can lead to a narrow mindset that could make you overlook alternative ways to achieve a goal. Second, there is a risk of challenge. The more challenging a goal is, the riskier approaches people might take in order to achieve it. Another risk is to promote competitive behaviors among team members, because that can lead the whole team to a discouraging cooperation. Finally, a dark side of goals is that they can be a threat to motivation. When people focus more on extrinsic motivation rather than intrinsic one, it can have negative effects on the team members and lead to eventual burnout. But what does intrinsic and extrinsic motivation mean? We will learn more about it next. One of the factors that affects goal achievement the most is motivation. Understanding motivation as the incentive that drives us to do something. There are two types of motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic. When someone is extrinsically motivated, it means that her drive to act comes from an outside source. For example, a monetary reward. You work hard for the money, as the song says. On the contrary, when the motivation is intrinsic, it means that his or her drive to act comes from the enjoyment of doing the activity itself, as David and David said in 2013. These two different ways to motivation are really two different concepts of being committed to a task, but they are not exclusive one of the other. To visualize that, you just have to imagine you putting two things on a scale, the salary on one side and the job of your life on the other. If the salary weighs more, you will be very happy by the end of every month, but you're going to be poorly motivated each morning to go to work. On the other hand, if the side where is placed the job sends up the salary side, you will enjoy the task very much, but you are going to be in trouble every end of month. So, which one is worst? Sure, it depends on each one's priorities. But the ideal situation is, of course, when both sides are balanced. You have a good job and a not that bad salary. That works also for your team. It's important, if you can, to know the incomes of the members of the team, so you can always keep an eye on everyone's scale and be aware if one of the sides weighs much more than the other, because this lack of balance may be a source of future conflicts. Conflicts. Remember this word. Spoiler alert. We will talk extensively about them in the next lesson. Said this, if we had to choose between the side of the salary and the side of the job, we recommend you pay more attention to the job's one, because when the only type of motivation a person has comes from an outside source, that can lead to eventual burnout. As we said before, usually within organization, both types of motivation are at play. However, intrinsic motivation tends to show higher personal satisfaction, which is reflected on the organization's success and the goal achievement rate. It is important, as leaders, not to lose sight of this. And one of the ways we have to enhance intrinsic motivation on our team members is team building. Let's see what this means. Let's see some questions that invite reflection. How do you usually set your goals? Setting our own goals is a privilege, but also may invite us to set too easy goals. It's a mistake. Easy goals may look nice, but they are eventually boring. It's the same formula that works for unreachable goals, leads to frustration. So, the difficulty of the task assignment is to find a task for each team hard enough to keep them busy, but also reachable enough to make them able to feel great at the end. Do you follow any of the SMART criteria? Which one do you think is the most important if you think there's one? Probably being specific is, if not the most important, the first characteristic we need to know about the goal set. Once the specifications of the goal are clear enough, we can develop the rest of the information. Remember the key questions: who, what, where, when, and why. Who is involved in this goal? What do I want to accomplish? Where is this goal to be achieved? When do I want to achieve this goal? Why do I want to achieve this goal? Can you identify what are the goals of your organization or the goals of a sport activity organized recently by the organization? Have you ever been in a situation where you were asked to perform a task that was beyond your possibilities? And the opposite. Have you ever been developing a task that was too easy for you? If it's yes for any of both, please try to recall how did you feel at the time. If it's no, please try to imagine how would you react in each situation. It may seem obvious, but are you sure that the goal or goals of your organization are the same you are working on? Did your organization explain you clearly which are those? When you are working in a mix between midterm and long-term goals, which is very usual in big companies, it may happen that you have a clear idea of the midterm ones, but the perspective of the long term may be a little unclear. So, you have to make sure that both are clear enough and that the tasks you are doing for the midterm goals are aligned with the long-term ones. Do you find yourself intrinsically or extrinsically motivated within your organization? As we said before, it's normal that you feel both. And knowing that, intrinsic motivation is the one that takes you to the best working version. We've all talked about the ideal situation of balance between both outside source and the joy of doing the task itself. Everything that we've talked about so far revolves around people. Leadership, teamwork, motivation. Who set goals? Who leads organizations? Who works in those organizations? There are strategies that work wonders on boosting teamwork, motivation, morale, and consequently, performance. And it increases the chances of goal achievement. Deir Hattani defines team building as the process of creating a team that cohesively works together towards a common goal. The importance and main purpose of team building is to create a strong team through forming bonds and connections. Fun is a key concept because team building is a process characterized by engaging team members in fun, cooperative activities that help them know each other better, find solutions together, and improve their teamwork. Here we might find the first obstacle to program a team-building activity. There still are organizations that, talking to its directive board or similar, when they hear the word fun in the same sentence that team or work, they get scared. And we have to pay for it. Now, we will give you a collection of arguments that to show the importance of team building when this moment comes. Team building is important because the more cohesive a team is, the better their performance and, of course, their abilities to achieve the organization's goals together. According to Deir Hattani, here are some of the benefits of team building. Team building improves networking, socializing, and it lets people get to know each other better. It boosts teamwork, team performance, team spirit, and motivation. It fosters collaboration and innovation, enhancing the organization's success. It also has a direct impact on the team members. Some of the results are higher satisfaction, engagement, and morale. Team building also unlocks leadership potential. All these benefits should be enough to justify the efforts that we will have to do to prepare the activity. By the way, you may find opposition not only inside the direction board, but between the team members also. There's always someone that finds the activity childish and a loss of time. That's why you need to adequate very carefully the type of it to the characteristics of the team members. As well as the benefits, we're going to go over a few of the team building strategies that can be applied in your organizations so that you, as leaders, can get the most out of the teams of people under your supervision. When thinking about the term team building, the idea of collective activities and retreats usually comes to mind. There is an entire website dedicated to the notion of team building, according to which not only these activities are essential to building a team because they are strengthened bonds between members, but also the following: providing a clear definition of roles within the team, articulating a clear vision of achievable goals for the team and the organization, establishing a rewarding system that begins with the acknowledgement of excellence, creating a safe space in which no discrimination is tolerated, encouraging mentorship between leaders and team members. Working on these strategies takes time, effort, and dedication. The important thing is that they help create a comfortable working environment that improves team performance by enhancing satisfaction in an individual level. Let's see some questions that invite us reflection. Have you taken part in any team building activities in your organization? How did you react to the proposed activities? Did you feel any change on the relation between you and the other team members after the activity? Can you think of other team building strategies besides the ones studied? Do you agree with the benefits of team building? Can you name a few others? Organizations are all about people. They are run by people and for people. During the first lesson of our module, we talked about leadership, and now we have focused our perspective on the people they lead. During the second lesson of the module, we've studied two important subjects: goals and team building. Every person, team, and organization have goals to achieve. It is important to understand what types of goals exist: distant and proximal, outcome, avoidance and approach, performance and learning, complementary and competing, and finally, unconscious. We have also seen what is the best way to achieve them, knowing that overly general goals lead to a low achievement rate. The best way to foster the achievement of a goal is to define it specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Well, let's be realistic. These characteristics won't make sure the achievement of the goal, but they increase a lot the possibility of success. As we said, organizations are formed by people, and we know that people act better with a motivation. That's why motivation plays a key role in goal achievement. We also talked about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. We know now that intrinsic motivation is related to the joy of doing the task itself, and it lasts longer than the intrinsic one that comes for a reward for doing the task. You can say that the enjoyment of doing a task often gives a plus of passion to it, and this may be the key of the team success. Motivation, especially intrinsic motivation, can be enhanced by applying team-building strategies that help create a comfortable and safe working environment that will result in the improvement of team performance and, in time, the organization's success.